Iberia, ravaged by the bloody tides of war, kings and sultans, dukes and emirs. Adversity makes for strange bedfellows, my friend. And you must read carefully if you are to decide the fate of Iberia.
I, Guifré the Hairy, waited 20 years for the French king to give me back the lands that were wrongfully taken from me. And now that I have it, vengeance will be mine. I did not sit idly. No, that's the way of fools. Instead, I moved forward with aggression and tenacity, securing the betrothal of Cornelia de Milano and strengthening the potential of my bloodline through my quick wit and her genius. She's 11 now, and it won't be but a handful of years before we are wed and the real test of traits begins. In the midst of confusion surrounding newly acquired lands, I quickly pressed my claims to Girona against my cousin and rival Sunyar, and in a swift, victorious war with minimal losses, secured access to the Mediterranean. In the midst of the siege of Girona, I captured Sunyar's wife. Whether I can use her or not has yet to be seen. My destiny is before me, and while I wait for my bride, there are many paths I can take to further my influence. The Muslims to the south have done me no harm. Perhaps it's time to see if a mutual relationship can be harnessed that can bring both parties ahead in the midst of this Iberian struggle. Hello everybody, this is Havoc, and welcome back to our Crusader Kings 3 role-playing as Count Guifré The Hairy. Now I know it must be immensely frustrating to have one episode go up, love it, and then have nothing for a long time. I struggled last week entirely with COVID to the point where I'm just to the point where I can start recording again. So that was the lapse in time. I do apologize. I know that probably killed a little bit of the momentum of the series, but there's honestly nothing I could do about it. So I do appreciate all of the wonderful comments. You guys have been fantastic with the comments and how to proceed. And so we are going to take the advice of all of my local courtiers, and we can definitely use that to our advantage, including a way to gain some fantastic new knights. Now we are currently underneath our requirement for our knights, and that's simply because I have taken the advice to heart, and I have taken out anyone who is on my council, and I have put them in a position where they are not allowed to be a knight. Now we could invite knights, summon them to our court, but as someone pointed out, I can use my courtiers in order to woo some prowess into my court. So that's exactly what we are going to do. Now, I could use my sisters. We're going to not focus on my sisters. Gwendilda, excuse me. We are going to try and use our influence to bring in some mighty, powerful people. Now, Didwin, he is patient, he is content, he is humble. Now, he's Bavarian. We won't hold that against him, but he is quite beneficial in that he is a wonderful, amazing, legendary blade master and a skilled tactician. He's also a forest fighter, which means if we get in our situation, we can totally do that. Now, children's marriage will be born into a house, chance of children medium. We are doing matrilineal. They'll be born into the mother's house instead of the father's, and that means he should come into our court in just a little while. Berenguera, this would happen immediately, so it's something that we should definitely focus on. Leof here. Anglo-Saxon man. 16 prowess is not terrible. It's not fantastic. Generous, craving, and wrathful, though. I think he would get along very well in our court. And chance of children would be low, but regardless, I think we could totally take advantage of that. Now, my sisters, I do believe both are, yes, they are spoutsless. With this regard, I don't want to use my sisters to bring in knights. Rather, I want the chance for an alliance and for a powerful alliance to happen. Now, Philibus Meyergood, we're not going to marry off someone who was just born, regardless of the influence that they could bring us. Count Cabo of Castle, however, does have quite a large military strength, and he's not located too terribly far away. He is over in East Francia, which means he wouldn't be able to help us immediately, but I still think he might be able to woo things a little more effectively. We need to find a way to woo, and maybe we don't work on matrilineal. Maybe we just have to focus initially on having to worry more about just having soldiers rather than anything else. Let's go ahead and do this. They will accept, which is awesome. My other sister, on the other hand, she is wrathful, impatient, and callous. However, we do have Prince Louis the Stammerer. Now, that is a former spouse, so he's no longer in power. But they have claims to the following titles: the Kingdom of West Francia, of Aquitaine, County of Marcangis, Ile-de-France, Brie-Française. Yes, he's heir to the Kingdom of West Francia, which means that she would become queen on the death of the Duke Rumnulf of Aquitaine. Let's go ahead and do it. Let's push it and let's see what happens between all these marriages to see if we can't fabricate some support in our soldiers, because at the moment, Count Alberico of Lombardia does not have a whole lot going for us. Again, we did that alliance more so for Cornelia di Milano and her ability to influence the bloodline of our future. There are a few things that we can do in the meantime, though. Whereas I'm not going to be hiring for knights, we can try and find a physician to see if we can fill that role, and if that will help us recover quicker and just have a lot of health benefits to our council and our courtiers. My messengers have reported back, yes, a marriage proposal. We should receive several of these. Gladly accept your marriage proposal. Take the hand of your courtier. Holy matrimony. We could imprison him right away. I don't know why we would do that, though. So he is now our courtier, and we are going to add him in. Fantastic. Let's wait and see if we have any more messengers come in this week. Yes. Betrothal proposition. Take the hand of your courtier, Gwenedilda, when the time comes. An alliance has been formed. Taking the hand of my sister, Ermesinda, in holy matrimony. We now have an alliance with Prince Louis of West Francia that we could potentially use for our advantage. And our court physician. The world is full of dangers, even to a count and his court. As per my request, my servants have inquired after recommendations. They've assembled a few options to choose from. We have Raymond, who is 29, who has a learning of 11, which isn't all that fantastic. But he's a misguided warrior, an aspiring blade master, and a forest fighter as well. Lustful, compassionate, but diligent. And Fernando, who's a Catholic and Basque. Catholic and Occitan would actually serve our purpose better. He's quite experienced. It would cost a fantastic amount of 50 gold, but I do think it will be beneficial for us all. And if we take a look at our courtiers, we do get an opinion boost. The aptitude, unfortunately, is not great. If we see someone, perhaps we could hire them in, depending on our financial statements at the time. My brother, Recolf de Barcelona, who's only a few years younger than me, he's a bit of a dud. I'm not gonna lie. Now, he needs a spouse. Unfortunately, I found the perfect person for him. But I'm also tempted to remove my alliance, simply to nab her now. Antha. She is just, she is brave and fickle, all the things that we could definitely use. She's an indulgent wastrel, which gives her a little bit of a boost to stewardship, but more importantly, she has the genius trait, and she is honestly up for marriage right now. Now, as a Catholic, it is of course against, it's not kosher to break the betrothal. However, for a meager 75 prestige, and a meager 30% or 30 opinion against those all the way in the Kingdom of Italy, I don't think it is going to matter. So unfortunately, Cornelia di Milano, I do wish you the best. I did not know much about you. You weren't writing much to me at any point in our relationship, but I'm gonna have to break the betrothal, which means I am not married, which means that Antha could immediately become my wife, just 2 years younger than I am, at the meager cost of losing only 200 prestige. So for the cost of less than 300 prestige, I can go from waiting 5 years to have children to even being married to then having a wife that could immediately start having children with the same degree of success. She has accepted my marriage proposal. We joined with my acquaintance Antha in holy matrimony, not macrimony. May God grant us long life and many, many children. Now, remember, Count Sunyar's wife is in prison, and apparently she was pregnant. She's given birth to a son. Since the little one is part of the Barcelona dynasty, he should be blessed with a good name. I get to name him. How ironic is that? Count Sunyar can do nothing in this case, whereas I hold all of the power. And since I hold all the power, I get to name him whatever I want. Deodat. It is a brutal, aggressive name, befitting for a rival who got himself into trouble. Deodat it is. May you grow strong and wise, indeed you shall. Now imagine your rival and your cousin being able to name your son. I can't imagine this will sit too well with him. But you know what? He doesn't really have a choice. Now, unfortunately, I forgot a little while that Rikolf still needs to marry, and while there's definitely a wide range of options for us, I still think we should give him a chance. And in fact, what we are going to do is I'm going to try and cross borders. Mozarabism is a faith that we will, I won't necessarily say clash against. In fact, as the leader of one of the northern parts of a Catholic empire, again, Muslims and Arabism isn't necessarily something I am against. So Munya, she is stubborn, compassionate, and arbitrary, but she is also hale, which means that people in our line, or this line, would get a small health boost, increase in prowess, and attraction. I think that would be worthwhile for him. Again, a boob like him just needs to find someone who might remotely like him, so we will send that proposal and hope for the best. And indeed, that works. Awesome. May your union bring happiness and fulfillment. I concur. One of the things that we have to work on is this little fact right here. We are second into the line, the county of Rosello. Now, we can't exactly murder him. It just won't work. 29% chance is just not going to happen. Not to mention, we are just, so it wouldn't sit well with us. And especially considering that I named Deodat, I have no intention on murdering him. He has done nothing wrong. But it doesn't mean that we have to live life in peace. And 873, we have 5 years left until that point in which I can take over. Now, the other thing, I cannot quite go to war just yet. We have the benefit. We have the potential. But what I think has to happen first is I need a solid ally. And the only solid ally that's going to happen with any sort of influence is, of course, going to be to our south and our Muslim friends here. So what we have to do is we have to find someone who has a lot of influence. Ooh, what about Emir Yusuf ibn Zakaria of Tula? He's a vassal in the Sultanate of Al-Andalus. We could contract his assistance. Gains 40 stress because they are arrogant. However, we would get 100 gold if we joined in. I don't know. We could tip the scales in this frontier district rebellion. That would actually help us quite a bit. This is against Sultan Muhammad ibn al-Rahman of Al-Andalus. Instead, let's just try and become friends with him. We could learn a language. In fact, that would actually be a very good way to go about it. It would take 6 years, but we have a 95% chance. So let's do it. For one, let's sway first. 50% chance. What if we tried to befriend? That is a 0% chance. They basically hate everything that we are. However, I think I can learn the language and start a scheme there. Can I sway at the same time? I cannot. Let's try it and let's see. We are patient men. I am more than willing to hire a court tutor as well. My brother and knight, the boob Ricolf de Barcelona, let's go ahead and appoint him. That's going to allow our learning scheme power to increase as well. 6 years is a bit of a long stretch, but you know what? Let's see where it leads us. With my marriage to Countess Antha, the realm expects us to throw a suitably extravagant wedding celebration. After all, why not? It's well within my right to collect a royal aid duty as part of this, but some may consider it tasteless to levy an extra tax during the time of jubilation. I will, of course, 75 gold that will help pay for a lot of things. Who pays for their own wedding after all? Not me. This is a bit strange. My cousin Sunyar, he is inviting me to partake in a relaxing activity. My rival, who really doesn't like me. You know what? I think we should take it and see if we can perhaps learn a secret about Sunyar and see if it helps us in our further conquests. We've accepted the invitation. He gives a warm welcome. This better be worth my time. I agree. I don't know what's going on here. I wonder if this has something in part. Why he invited me. Countess Gwendilda is dear to me. Would you let her go in return for this offer? He offers to pay me 25 gold. She will leave the prison? Absolutely not. What else are you up to, Sunyar? Well, as I inspect the stables, my gaze is drawn to a mare kept away from all others. She throws her head, stomps her hoofs, displaying her powerful hindquarters and a well-arched neck. Creature is the best of conformations, the worst of tempers. Never seen such a warhorse before. Stable master insists she's impossible to... I'm not one to back away from the challenge. Absolutely not. Let's do it. The horse pins her ears back as I approach. First meeting is important to earn her trust and respect. A steady hand is required to tame this beast. We have high prowess. That's going to be the best thing for us. Yes, absolutely. Steady hand is required. It's a mighty feeling. The powerful horse follows me at my every whim. Now I've earned the trust, she seems almost fond of me. Will definitely keep her as my warhorse. Gives me an additional prowess as well as an increase to prestige, and I gain a martial lifestyle at the same time. Admiring the mare that now follows my eye every command, I must muse on what to call her. We will definitely work on mythology. I think that's the best scenario. We have several options at our disposal. We have Lemry, the horse of King Arthur. Balius, which is one of Achilles' own. Xanthos, the name of Achilles' other horse. Boreas, the ancient Greek god of the north wind. Let's do Boreas, absolutely. The ancient god of the north wind. Perhaps it will help me in my battles. And we've also got a perk that we can choose. We have finally been able to do things. Bello Justum would cause a casus belli to be greatly reduced. If we serve the crown, we gain natural dread. Never backing down gives us friendly casualties reduction, as well as an advantage +5. Spouse opinion +50. With loyalty and respect, and skills from spouse counselor tasks +25%. Let us serve the crown. Natural dread will help ensure that our vassals don't rebel, and our control growth will increase as well. And leading down into strict organization, we will increase our control in counties in further battles. I think that would be great. It's been quite a while since I first tried to learn the language, and we now have a progress update on how well I am doing. The wise stag then said to the little boy, "Beware, for there's a..." And suddenly I'm interrupted. "What? The great count is reading children's fables. Have you no pride?" Rodolphe exclaims. Rodolphe is, of course, one of my brothers and a knight. "This is unacceptable. If your foe finds us out, they will think you feeble-minded. Maybe my choice of Arabic literature was a bit underwhelming in the eyes of the court. Now, we have several options. These are the venerated Andalusian classics. That's it. There's a 60% chance that we will trick Rodolphe into thinking the fables are classical works. However, because we are just, that will cause a lot of problems. If we choose the prowess manner, We can duel Rodolphe to punish him for his insolence. If we win, we'll gain prestige and a modifier to the scheme. If we lose, I'll be ridiculed. However, if we do agree with our brother, we'll get 80 stress because we are ambitious. Let the people think what they will. These stories are educational. We would lose quite a bit of prestige, and our fellow vassal opinion, independent ruler, and courtier guest would actually go down. I don't take insults lightly. So let us duel our brother. I'll show him what he thinks. Rodolphe and I pace in half-lazy circles, each watching for an opening. I heft my sword, ready to defend myself, while he clutches his sword firmly to hand. This fight may only be till first blood, but that doesn't ease my nerves. With a sudden twitch, our bout begins. Unexpectedly, he manages to swing a vicious kick from my shin, momentarily hobbling me. If I show him how we heft the sword, I get a medium increase to my likelihood of success, but a low increase to risk of injury. Low increase to both of his. I say we go, maggot, you think you can stand against me? I get this due to my martial skill? Absolutely. Commanding the rabble in battle is an exercise in shouting and intimidation. I demonstrate this to Rodolphe by screaming foulness from the top of my considerable lungs. He stays stock still, seemingly hoping I'll just throw down my sword. My form is deteriorating fast, with numerous exploitable gaps, and Rodolphe's stance is failing. My opponent's guard is fierce. I feel far from victory. Now, we could try and intimidate him, because we are patient. Better men than you have died trying to break my guard, or hills, fens, mountains, this is all my domain. This is a high increase to the likelihood of success that I get thanks to my rough terrain expert trait. A low increase to his likelihood and a medium increase to his risk of injury. The rocky landscapes we fight in is hazardous. Either of us could trip and fall to our death, and a violent shove here is as dangerous as a sword point. I take great delight in demonstrating this to Rodolphe time and time again. Well aware that he is utterly outmatched, he hurls himself at me bodily, forcing me backwards with all the desperation of the doomed. My form is good, with only small errors, and his stance is passable. I've yet to open up my opponent's guard at all, see no way yet to claim victory. If we yell at him again, no increase to the likelihood of success or risk of injury, but Rodolphe de Barcelona gains dual handicap rank 4. However, a very high increase to his likelihood of success. Knocking his prowess down that much would be the best thing for us. Nothing increases. That's a medium. I'll show you how I heft a sword. I think that would be best for us. My sword flows around Rodolphe like water, each strike chaining fluidly into the next, a series of perfectly timed attacks. Well aware he is utterly outmatched, he hurls himself, forcing me backwards with the desperation of the doomed. It's the same deal. My form is good, Rodolphe's stance is passable. If we strike, parried, and riposts, I gain stress because I'm patient. This is not a patient manner in which I attack. However, I think it's our best success. Brilliant. My sword arm moves fast as lightning and strikes as hard as sundered stone. Blow by blow, I beat my opponent into bloody concussed submission, hammering him to the ground with all the fury of St. George can lend me. When all that's left is a quivering pile of bleeding man, I wonder if I'd gone too far. Then Rodolphe coughs hard enough to lose his grip on his sword, and I allow myself a little sigh of relief. With the worry over, I kick my foe's weapon away and lay my own against his throat. It takes a few tries, but he gets the yield out eventually. Brother, let this be a lesson. I am victorious. Rodolphe gains the trait wounded. All temporary combat modifiers have been resolved. That's what he gets. And now my scheme gets to progress. I yield. Please forgive me. You are not feeble-minded at all. Just spare me. As the wise stag once said, don't insult your betters, or you'll rot in the dungeon for your insolence. I don't feel like that's a little too far. However, I gain 350 prestige. I grow closer to forming a rivalry with Rodolphe de Barcelona, and my learn language gains easily read fables, which increases my scheme power and success chance. I don't think there's anything better that could happen. And then immediately afterwards, a wounded and disillusioned mercenary group has arrived at the county of Girona. The local claim have overheard talk of settling down after pillaging an easy target and begun to grow anxious. Tensions are high, conflict is likely to arise if I don't intervene. It's one thing after the other. It looks like Gosfred is a little bit of a wounded state. He is severely injured. If we offer them a position, we gain mercenary acquaintances, which reduces our mercenary hire cost. But also, veteran mercenaries hired as instructors does cause some issues. If we implore them to leave, there is a 76% chance that will happen. And we'll listen to the locals, which gives us a popularity boost. If I force them out of the city, there's a 100% chance that I will gain 15 gold prestige, and then the city of Girona gets local garrison using elite tactics, which increases holding taxes, control growth, and popularity. Absolutely. That will speed up our control growth immensely. Get out of my city. The mercenary threat has been subdued. We get elite tactics for 5 years. And then, as if that wasn't enough, there are some tourney troubles. As Count, I've been obliged to attend a local jousting tournament, but the contestants have been delayed. The tourney won't start for at least another hour. My cousin is here, and as always, is being an insufferable lout. Yeah, that sounds like Sunyar. His constant complaining is making everyone even more miserable than normal. Meanwhile, my brother and friend Myron is sitting under the pavilion, clearly bored halfway to death. Oh, here we go. I can push Sunyar into the horse's water trough to liven things up. He becomes my nemesis. Absolutely, let's do it. Fantastic. Sunyar. Oh my word, he is my nemesis now. This is fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. I couldn't have asked for anything else. Our nemesis is a special relation, an utter contempt and hatred. It's a stronger special relation than rival, and the character can only have one of them. Absolutely fantastic. Bring it on, Sunyar. As I was riding through the streets of Urgel, when a mob of screaming and shouting peasants descended on my retinue. Thankfully, my guards did not hesitate to start cutting them down left and right while I made my way back to the castle. This was undoubtedly the work of that brash spawn of hell, Count Sunyar. I gained Watchful for 2 years, which means my hostile schemic resistance increases, but we lose 100 opinion. All close family members and spouses of me lose 70 opinion of Count Sunyar, and it is call for rightful imprisonment. Now, unfortunately, I can do nothing about this. I could potentially murder him, but I don't think that will do me any good. However, I can punish things. He attempted to kill me. She no longer gets to go down into any possibility of negotiating a release. I get to move her down to the dungeon, and I'm going to move him down to the dungeon as well. Deodat, your health will waste away as a result of the sins of your husband and of your father. Hopefully you'll learn the lesson, Count Sunyar, because your wife and your child may soon not live very long. And by the way, I'm also heir to your entire kingdom. So, I would back off if I were you. And to wrap up this episode, it looks like Duke Bernard of Barcelona, my liege and King Charles' steward, has converted from Occitan to Catalan, and as a result has taken the head of my culture. He is working on plenary assemblies, which is great. That's actually really good for us. However, I really need to take that back. He has the most Catalan counties. I think we'll be able to take him on here eventually. I hope so. But guys, that will be the end of this episode. I do hope you enjoyed everything that you saw. It was rather a little more laid back. However, some twists and turns that were not anticipated on behalf of myself, Count Guifré de Barcelona. We currently have 3 years until we can push another claim. However, our liege is just over twice our size. I think here in a few months we'll be able to learn the language, which will hopefully impress the Emir Yusuf himself. As a result of that, perhaps we can get something rolling where we can form an alliance. It does look like he has lost half of his strength though, which is a bit unfortunate. However, by learning Arabic, we can definitely woo almost anyone that we see fit here. Ooh, but he is in a mighty number of wars himself, so I don't know how Sultan Muhammad will be able to last through this. Perhaps we'll be able to find an even better ally than what we did potentially in Tula Emir Yusuf ibn Zakiyara. Guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me today and going on this journey with me. I do promise episodes will be about every 3 to 4 days from here on out as we continue to expand our small empire and push things the way they need to go. Guys, that will be it. If you enjoyed any part of this, be sure to give it a thumbs up, sub to the channel, turn on bell notifications. Of course, leave your comments. I take your counsel very seriously, and there have been some fantastic comments that have come along the way that I really do appreciate. We will continue our journey of Count Guifré The Hairy in the next episode. This is Havoc, and I'll see you in the next one.
My friend, and you must treat carefully if you are to decide the fate of Iberia.